So, hello everyone. Welcome to our podcast, Beyond Injury Time. Uh, we are going to continue our the Transfer Saga series. We are going to discuss a few more players for which the transfers have gone through, and these are some of the big transfers that have gone through in English football. There are good quality, exciting young players that are coming, that are going to play at respective clubs in the Premier League next season. So we are going to kick off the proceedings with Declan Rice, of course. 100 million plus transfer has gone through in the Premier League. And the first person that I'm going to ask to speak about that particular transfer is Abhay. Please give your opinions on the transfer, man.
Rice, baby. We finally got the man. Oh my God. Uh, I was actually not into it that much because I always thought it was a huge price to pay. I mean, probably I come from the Wenger era, so I'm not able to digest that, some for a team from 2000, what do you say, from 2004 to 2013, we had a net spend of profit 20 million pounds. And out here, we are bidding 100 million pounds plus, making him the 10th most expensive transfer in the window. I couldn't be happier because Declan Rice is a is a phenomenal beast in terms of physicality. He covers ground like nobody else. He's a great tackler, and the way we play football, it's like a one-man pivot almost. And the guy needs to cover a lot of ground and win a lot of duels, and he does both of that. Thirdly, and most importantly, in the past 2 seasons, there has
Yeah.
been a problem with regards to availability. And Declan Rice has great availability, right?
Yes.
So he fits right in, and we were losing a lot of duels as well in midfield, which is also due to the fact that our midfield is not always packed when we are defending or on the counter. And in that sense, also Declan Rice is really good. Just to give you a perspective, in terms of Declan Rice, in terms of interceptions, he had 63 last season. Thomas Partey, who played in his position, or I would like to think that's the position he played, probably the number 6, had 28. So that's almost more than double, which is like amazing. And one more amazing thing about Declan Rice is he's an amazing ball carrier. Amazing ball carrier. To put into perspective, his progressive ball carries were around 315, which is and parties were 250. So I genuinely believe he's an upgrade. The only place where I still have my doubts is probably to do with the fact that Party could do line breaking passes, and I'm not sure Declan Rice can do that.
No,
Other than
I mean, I personally think, don't you see the Rice transfer as a replacement to Xhaka? Because I personally do not see Rice slotting in as a number six instead of Party. I feel he's going to play, higher up in a number 8 kind of a role, and Party will still keep his position as a number 6.
Uh,
What do you make of that?
interestingly, Declan Rice started off as a centre back, right? And that's where he played for West Ham as well. Later on, he was pushed as number 6, and that's to support. At this point of time, he supports Suchek. I mean, the next season he'll be playing for us, but yeah. And I believe that we bought Havertz, and I think Havertz is the guy who's going to replace Shaka, and Declan Rice is the guy who's going to replace Party. But the good thing about Declan Rice is with the properties he can play as a number 8 as well as a number 6.
Yeah,
And he can do both the jobs magnificently well.
because
The
because
yeah.
for a defensive midfielder that he played at West Ham, right?
Mm.
For a defensive midfielder, he had the most carries in the Premier League. So that speaks volumes about how he carries the ball and how he tries to
I
still
agree he
find a
can carry
pass.
the ball, but I have a different concern from him. So West Ham is more like a low block kind of a side, right? In
Yeah,
the last season, they were just lying back, lying behind, and that was the work of Rice as well. He was patrolling the midfield, they're standing in front of the defense. And what I've heard about is he does not, although he wins most of the tackles, but he does not go into it very often. right? So
Yeah.
he do not do tackling. He just tries to intercept or make sure that the players are content. They are not causing a lot of harm.
So you
So in
mean he is not
Arsenal,
a tough tackler? Is that what you mean?
no, he has a good successful ratio
Tackle
for
rate.
tackles. What
Hmm.
he's committing, he is kind of winning, right?
Okay.
With a better, I think he's on in the top of the percentage. If you see, he is at the top of it.
I
The
guess he's on the
percentage he wins.
top in terms of
Tackle as well.
That
interception percentages.
yeah.
So
So
Yeah,
the
I'd like to
he's
actually add to that,
num
since we're discussing interception, we're discussing tackles and everything.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
but
I do agree with Khanna in that sense that he does not put too many tackles. His success rate is good, but
Okay.
if you see how many number of tackles he actually puts, that's not very high. It's like he's somewhere in the like in the average
yeah.
of
Okay.
the all the like, compared to other midfielders. But what he does is that he's really good at interceptions. So
So
last
Abhay, do you think
season.
that's a trait? That's a trait that may
So
affect Arsenal plans?
So
I
what my
mean,
question? Let me just finish my
Okay.
question.
yeah,
My
Yeah.
question was that do you believe that when he go to Arsenal,
Yeah.
he has to be more proactive in getting the balls out of the feet of players because you are going to play an attacking type of football and not a low block.
Yeah. Fair
So
question.
the role of Rice would be very much different from what it was in West Ham. So do you think he will fit in that system? Will that role suits him?
so one thing about Declan Rice, firstly, with respect to tackles, right? I would like to dispel that he's actually a very decent tackler, and he puts his body on the line as well,
No,
right?
he's good, yeah, actually.
And he and the reason and he's a great reader of the game in
Correct.
terms of that's why he's got those interceptions. When he comes to Arsenal, we do want him to sniff off attacks. That's for there for sure. But there is one point which I agree with in terms of the fact that can he turn on the ball? How are his half turns and the passes after that? That is that is one major point of concern for me because whenever I have seen him pass in West Ham or even in England, his passes are all diagonals, right? And with Party, for example, he had line breaking passes. That is one point I agree with. But apart from that, there's another point that when in West Ham, when he used to receive the ball with his back to the goal, right? When he was receiving from the keeper, he could pass it back or sideways. At Arsenal, I expect him to turn. That's what the fans expect him to do. So that is a bit of a gray area. We will only have to see what he can do. But other than that, I think he's better than Partey in all other areas. Other than that,
I think,
And even
I
he would
want
have to
to.
pressure a lot to the players in Arsenal, right? He would have to put pressure. He would have to charge on the players, which in the West Ham probably he was not able to. He was just protecting
yeah,
his lines and
yeah. I agree on that. But seeing the games from last year, right? Last year against Arsenal, he was actually pressurizing really well, and he got the ball off a lot of our players, specifically Party actually, and that's how they scored one of the goals, right?
But
And and
Actually,
interestingly,
yeah,
he pressured really well against Liverpool as well.
yeah.
So I think he has the capacity, he has the brains, and more than that, once you see him live in a match, you will see the way he covers ground is like nobody else. Nobody else.
Abhay,
You know,
can I just wanted to ask. I mean, each one of yours opinion. Do you think
mm,
Rice is a press-resistant midfielder?
okay, that is
No, that's a question for Abhay mostly, but others
yeah,
can
yeah, but
pitch in.
I'm
Yeah,
kind of thinking actually, yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
good
Abhay,
question. It's a good
go ahead
question.
with that. It's
No,
a good question actually.
he is a very press resistant midfielder. At first, you see and you look at his body and you think it's not possible, but
Yeah,
he receives the ball and then he pushes the ball into space, and because of his physical form factor or whatever, he then moves to that place. I mean, you can't expect him to be a Modric or someone like that, but he's really
Mm,
press resistant.
but based on the concerns that you mentioned, right, about
Mm,
Rice, there's a
mm.
bit of a gray area if he can, turn on the turn and then
Yeah,
pass the ball
yeah.
forward. So there are general expectations like West Ham for for the majority of last season were battling out of relegation. They did very well in the Europa, but then what happens in knockout games is that, right? There is a lot of physicality involved. You just want to nick that one goal and then win games. So Rice is actually perfect for all that. But from what we've seen of Arteta, Arteta wants his team to impose themselves in the game. So based on the point that you said, that is what led me to ask you this question: is he press resistant?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
haven't seen that particular attribute of him.
Yeah. So interestingly, if you look at it, he is resistant, but because of the team he plays in, basically West Ham, he is kind of hardwired. He's kind of hardwired to pass it to the sides or to the back.
Yes, that's
But
why. Yeah.
I believe he's press resistant enough to turn. My biggest concern even right now is just whether he can pass the ball between the lines. Does he have that ability?
Because right now even center backs are expected to get a very good pass out of them. So being a midfielder, you would expect that to be a part of his archery. But one more thing I would want to ask is: do you believe that with the amount that we spend on Rice, do you think it's on Partey? It's an upgrade, right? That we all agree. But is it 100 million worth upgrade?
Yeah. With Party, there are a few issues, right? Uh, the first issue has been availability, right? And secondly, I believe when we got Party as well, it was a great deal. It was a great deal.
Yeah.
That was what I felt at that point of
50
time. As well.
million. 50 million, I guess.
Yeah. 50 million euros. It was a great deal.
Bargain.
Yeah. Right now, there's a lot of inflation. And secondly, you need to understand the kind of teams that were coming in for him, right? That also inflated it. Him being an English international inflated it.
Yeah.
And it's also about what Declan Rice is worth to us as a team, as Arsenal.
Yeah.
We want a player in number 6 who is a great tackler, who can win balls, who is available, and who can cover a lot of distance.
You
Because
missed out
there's
on one point. I personally feel that is the biggest point, in my opinion. So when Arsenal pushed forward, right, much of their problems originated from the fact that teams that were playing in transition, be it United or be it any of the lesser teams, right? So the problem was that they were unable to stop the counterattacks when the team was playing against them in transition. So Declan Rice, I feel, is the perfect fit to counter that particular thing, because he has got great spatial awareness. He's got great positioning in between the center backs. So when Arsenal team are pushing forward, Declan Rice owns the central area.
And I
That is
believe
for
he
sure.
also adds some leader. Even in the young age, he has a leadership trait
Absolutely.
in him.
Yeah.
He does all the patrolling for West Ham. He was the only player like guiding them up in the last season, completely taking them on his shoulder. So
Man, he won a
I was like-
Europa Conference League with a
League,
team
correct.
that was fighting relegation.
Yeah,
How
correct.
often does that happen?
See, that's the thing, when you guys were talking about this thing,
Yeah.
that if it's worth 100 million.
Yeah.
So first of all, as Abhay said, right, you have to keep in mind that what kind of teams were coming for him.
Yeah.
This is the market, right? You cannot do anything about it. And what was more important was that did Arsenal need him and how much Arsenal needed him. And like they needed him, like anything. So
Arsenal needed him more than City. So
obviously, City doesn't need anybody. I feel
City
like
just
that.
tapped in
But
for
Just
increasing the
look at
price.
this thing, look at this. How many points do they have? He's just a 24-year-old guy, and for a guy who's just 24, he has exceptional leadership skills. Okay, and something that Arsenal are going to need right now, because they're going to charge for in so many fronts. You need somebody who's going to actually calm the whole thing down. Maybe
Absolutely.
what do you say? Lead from his position, right? And he's got that. He's done for West Ham, and probably when Zaka is going to leave now, who is probably who has held the leadership position in that particular team. It's fantastic that Rice is going to go there, right?
Very well.
So that's a long-term thing, first of all, and this is such a big deal. I mean, people tend to not focus on this, but leadership is a big quality. And you
So
think
AJ,
about other
how do you
things.
rate the transfer?
I
Out
love
of 10.
it, actually. Quite honestly, I
Out of
love it. Like,
10.
I have so many things to say about this guy. And I love it because it's for Arsenal. Maybe if he went for City, I probably wouldn't like it that much because the kind of difference he's going to make in this Arsenal team, he's probably won't be able to put that kind of thing into that City team because they're
That I
already
agree
stacked.
100%.
We just think about
100%.
this, okay?
Yeah.
I just compared. I was interested to know how he's doing, okay? And I looked at his stats in general. And
So how do
you were
you
talking
rate the
about
transfer
interceptions.
out of 10?
It's 10 for me, man. It's really 10
I
for
have
me. Like
Thank you.
I just have to think about the money part, but that's something you cannot actually do anything about. Arsenal went with ambition this time. Okay, they know they have CL in front. They know where they were last year. Okay, and they just want to go for it. What I'm concerned about probably is that their squad is still thin. Okay, Partey
correct.
might be leaving, and Zaka is going to leave, and Rice would fit in.
Party is leaving? Abhay?
Probably don't know. I don't
Probably.
know. But
The
it's
rumors are
something
on.
that has been in the that is
The
in the
rumors
news
are
that
in, man. The rumors
yeah,
are in.
he might
No,
be
no,
leaving.
no,
Let's just say he
no.
doesn't leave.
That is again back to square one if Party leaves. I
Exactly,
mean,
yeah. Like
No,
Rice is going to be six man for sure because that's his position and he's going to own that position, right?
yeah, yeah.
And if Partey leaves, we don't know. But if Partey doesn't leave, then maybe they have another person in that particular position.
So
But
Amit,
the transfer is fantastic, man. I actually wanted to say one more thing. I just compared his stats to Rodri, and you were talking about his progressive passes, right? Last year, Rice had 6.6 per 90, where Rodri has like 8 per 90. They're not too far, I'd say, because he's very close when it comes to interception. He is very ahead of Rodri, and Rodri is obviously one of the best DMs, right? So his interceptions are fantastic. We've already
Rodri
discussed
doesn't
that.
need to intercept.
I know, but like he had, well, yeah, obviously you can say that. But I mean, from that point, just from the statistics point of view, it's pretty
Yeah,
good, is what I'm saying.
absolutely. Yeah.
What they're trying, I feel like that what Arsenal were trying to do is what just get the best numbers is available, and they
Yeah.
probably has got it. I don't
Has
know how
got
it's
it.
going to
Yeah.
turn out, but him being there is going to make a huge difference for Arsenal, I feel.
So yeah, guys, I mean, we've pointed out so brilliantly, courtesy of all of you, that what are the gray areas, what are the things that Rice still having made such a huge transfer to Arsenal, 100 million plus. There are still certain areas Rice has to improve, or rather, we are still yet to figure out how how his game evolves, rather, because he comes from a West Ham team who are always struggling for larger part of
Yeah,
the season under Moyes.
yeah,
So going to Arteta in that Arsenal team that challenged for title last season is going to take quite a jump. It will also show Rice's mentality to adapt. So Amit, I will want to get your closing arguments, man, on this. How do you rate the transfer?
Correct. I think I'll just add on to what Abhay's point was. So if the window gets over and Arsenal get good enough players for to compete in CL as well as Premier League, a good
Yeah.
enough squad depth and everything, then then my rating would be same right now as 9 out of 10. But if they do not get it because of the money they spend on Declan Rice, then I would rate it as a 7 out of 10 because
that's a
this
good
money
point
could have
actually. Yeah,
spent better
Better.
if they
Yeah.
wanted to compete in on multiple grounds.
right. That's a good
So
point.
Abhay, how do you rate the transfer? Because do you think Arsenal have got enough money in the bank, like Amit mentioned? Will they go for other transfers?
we are going to if we are not going to I mean at this point of time, right, at this point of time, if Party does not leave, I'm okay with it, right, because I think he's a substitute to Party, or Party will be a substitute to him, so we've got two
Hmm.
players there covered. If Xhaka goes, I think we have got it covered in Emil Smith-Rowe and Havertz, right? But I do agree with Amit when he says if Party goes and Rice is the only guy you have. I mean, I think if Party goes, we buy another six,
Another
right?
6. Yeah.
But standalone, I love the transfer. I love the
Yeah.
transfer.
How do
I
you rate
think
it?
I would say a 9 out of 10. Simply a 9 because I'm still probably reeling from the Wenger era where I find it a little expensive.
Yeah, you
How
rate
come
it
I'm
9.
the most
You rate it.
enthusiastic person with this guy, man?
Yeah, he rated him 9 and cited 6, 7 gray areas also. I mean,
Yeah.
he's very
Oh
lenient
my
with his
God.
ratings, I
No,
feel.
no, no. It's more to do with the fact that what do you expect from what do I expect from a
He has
6?
to justify that 100 million price tag,
No,
right?
Yeah.
no,
Yeah,
uh,
he rated him 9
no.
already.
You have to understand how many sixes do you know who break lines? It's just that I have seen Party and I know he's caviar. He's not your normal stuff. So I'm used to that, and my expectation is at that level. I tell me the number sixes that you know who can do what Party can do and better. It's just about that. It's just
You know,
I've
as
seen.
soon as the Casemiro transfer happened to United, Arsenal fans were banging us. Casemiro who? Casemiro who? He's got UCL, big courtesy of Cruz and Modric. And all that, all that nuisance was getting created when Arsenal were challenging for the title and were probably top. Yeah, at that time, people started
Mhm.
comparing Partey and Casemiro. Fair enough. I mean, yeah, I
No,
mean,
no,
obviously,
no.
I have to agree here that Partey has got a better passing range in
Yeah,
between the lines than
yeah.
Casemiro. I
But
will admit it as a United fan.
Rajesh,
So
what about Rice? How do you rate Rice?
Yeah. How do you?
yeah, I mean, things could actually go wrong. I mean, I actually saw Rice operating alongside Partey, but that's not how Arsenal operate. They operate as a sole number 6. But yeah, from the comments that I've heard from you, there is going to be only one number 6. Either it's Partey or Rice. So let's see how that goes. But yeah, that is for sure that what you get with Rice is that leadership. You get, you know, physicality. You get interceptions, and you get good.
English
Uh,
quota.
yes, English quota.
English.
Whatever.